This is J. Krishnamurti's second public talk at Rishi Valley, 1977.
May I talk for a little while, and then we'll have a dialogue or a discussion. I thought it would be a good idea, if you also approve, that few of us discuss with me, say 4 or 5, and the others are free to join them in our discussion. You understand what I'm trying to say? For instance, Prabhu Jayaka, Mr. Narayan, I don't know anybody else, Achuji, and Mr. Krishnamurti, and few of them, I discuss with them. We discuss. And those of you, like you, sir, others, who want to take part in that discussion, join in. They are not chosen few. They are not my disciples, so I want to discuss with them. That way might help each other, you understand, to be serious. And Mr. Hamid, if he wants to join in, if he's not too occupied with his photographs. First of all, I would like to talk over with you what it means to be serious. The word serious comes from Latin, I won't go into all that, means to be earnest. To be earnest about the things of life. A sustained, continuous investigation, seriously, into oneself, into what one thinks, feels, and all the rest of fears, pleasures, and so on. And also, seriousness implies having a sense of humor, to be able to laugh at oneself, and to be serious in a grave matters of life. That's what we mean by serious. An unbalanced person, a lunatic, is very serious about his lunacy. You understand? You understand? Or a man who has got a particular form of belief or an ideology and be very serious in carrying that out. But I would not call those people serious because they've already committed to a particular form, to a particular pattern, and they want to carry that pattern right through life. Therefore, that quality of seriousness limits the inquiry, the grandeur, the majesty of freedom, and it prevents from seeing what is true and what is false. It's only a very serious person can see what is the truth in the false, and what is truth when you hear a statement, to see or to have an insight into a statement. That's what I'm going to discuss this morning, which is, first, to learn the art of listening. How to listen. Not to me, not to the speaker only, but to listen to the birds, listen to the winds, listen to all that is happening in nature, the caw of the crows, the noise, the drum. Listen outwardly, what is going on outwardly in the environment, and also to listen very deeply to one's own thoughts, to one's own imagination, if you have any, to listen to another person, to listen so that you understand what the other fellow is trying to convey, not interpret what you think he means, but actually listen, so that in that listening, which we will discuss now, in that listening, a peculiar thing happens if you don't interfere or project into what is being said to which you are listening, with your own conclusions, with your own beliefs, with your own opinions, or with your own knowledge. You understand what I mean? That is, I want to listen to you. Doesn't matter if you say the most stupid thing or the most extraordinary thing, wisdom. I'm listening to you. In that listening, my whole, both neurologically as well as psychologically as well as physically, my whole attention is given to what you are saying. When there is such attention, there is no interpretation possible. There is no comparison. Say, yes, I've heard him say this before, and I know he's going to say the same thing again. Or compare what is being said to what you already know, and therefore never listening actually to what is being said. So I'm saying, can we listen? I think in that listening, a miracle takes place. Because I want to tell you something, which is, just listen. Which is, any pressure on the brain, you understand? Any pressure, especially psychological pressures, which we have, as most people have psychological pressures, that distorts or deforms or damages the brain. Just listen to it. Don't argue. Well, I'll argue with you later. Go into it fully, but just get the content and the significance or the meaning of that statement. Capture it. Not say, well, let me think about it. Let us find out what he's saying is false or true. We'll find out. But first, capture the fullness of that meaning, the meaning of that, which is, as long as there is any psychological pressure, that pressure affects the brain, deforms the brain, distorts the brain. You can see this for yourself if you first listen very carefully to the statement and then will investigate it slowly. First, have an insight into it, first. You understand? I mean by insight, a mind that is capable of listening, and therefore listening with complete emptiness in which thought is not. You understand this? Can you? we'll go into it very carefully. But first, if I may suggest, let us learn together the art of listening. There are only three arts: the art of listening, the art of seeing, observing, and the art of learning. Now we are just concerned with the art of listening. The word art means to put everything in its right place, properly, everything in one's life in its right place. Sex in its right place, action in its right place, skill in its right place. You follow? Everything that is concerned with our life in its proper place. That the word art means that. Not painting and all the rest of it. So, when one listens very carefully, not only to the words, English words, and their meaning of the word, that we both understand the meaning of a particular word, like seriousness. Right? Am I making myself clear? That is, we must both understand the meaning of that word serious. You may give it one meaning, and another may give it another meaning, and I may give it another meaning. So, if our meanings are common, then communication is possible. Now, in a good dictionary, if you look it up etymologically, you'll find it derives from a certain Latin word which means to be earnest. To be earnest in the sense that you are not flippant, casual, negligent about things of life which affect our daily life. That's clear, isn't it? When we use the word serious, you and I mean the same thing. Do we mean it? That's what first I want to know. Do we mean, when we use the word serious, that we both understand the full meaning of that word? That is, that word implies to be very earnest about things of life. Things of life being action, clothes, food, shelter, then all the fears that we have, all the anxieties, the loneliness, the pain, the sorrow, the misery, the confusion, the uncertainty. To be concerned totally with all that is to be serious. And therefore, a man who pursues a guru is not serious. Because he is not concerned about his fears, his anxieties, be free of them, but he is willing to follow somebody who tells him what to do. Therefore, he accepts authority. Where there is the acceptance of authority, there is no seriousness. This is rather difficult for you to accept it. Let's go into it. I can listen to a surgeon, and he might tell me that I've got cancer or tuberculosis, whatever it is. And I think about it. I don't accept it immediately. I'm not frightened. I begin to inquire who is the best. And they all the surgeons say, you have got this particular disease, right? Then I obey them, right? That's simple. There is an authority, like the policeman, I must keep to the left side of the road, and if I'm in France or in other parts of Europe, I keep to the right. So I obey. The authority there is essential. But when I give over my capacity to inquire, to find out, to another, right? And accept what he says, I consider such a person is not serious. Because he is given over his inquiry, his pain to be resolved by another. Right? Are we clear on this matter? Not you, sir, because you are already committed. You are following somebody. Therefore, I don't consider you are serious. Forgive me. You think you may be serious, but actually, you are not free to inquire because you have committed yourself. Right, sir? So, do we understand the meaning of that word serious? A person who is committed to Jesus, or Christ, whatever it is, he is committed to it. And he is very serious. Right? He will give all his money, he goes to church and all the rest of it, become a missionary in the name of Christ and so on. But is he serious? We are questioning the word itself and its content. I wonder if you understand this. A person who is lunatic, demented, and he thinks he is God, is not serious. Because he is already committed to a certain form, a certain mold, a certain set of ideas, and he is pursuing that. He is not free to inquire. So we are saying freedom is necessary to be serious. You have understood? No, don't agree with me, please, unless you understand it. It's not agreeing with me, I may be wrong. Right? Is that word clear now? Or we are all together in this? Doctor, qu'est-ce que vous pensez? What do you say, sir? We understand each other what we mean? You are clear? So that we are making a certain point. A man who is serious, is earnest, is capable of laughing at himself. Therefore, there's a quality of humor in it. Doesn't mean he puts a long face, a beard and all that. That's nothing. But a man who is free and therefore capable of deep inquiry, and a man who is committed to any form of belief, system, following the Guru, I consider not serious, because he's not fundamentally free to inquire. You may say that you're giving a peculiar meaning to that word, but you can see by examining that word, earnest, grave, about the things of life, he must be free to inquire the things of life. That's simple, isn't it? Are we together in this? Huh? Clear? So, will you then, being serious in the sense we are using that word, inquire into what is the art of listening? You follow, you are free. Being free doesn't mean that you are agree or disagree. Together, you and I are inquiring, exploring, and sharing what we are exploring. You are exploring and I am exploring together, sharing what each is finding. Then that gives you an extraordinary quality of seriousness. Because you are then sharing. When you share something with another, the giver, there is no giver and taker. There is only sharing. I wonder if you understand all this. Right? So I'm saying, asking, if I may, how do you listen? Of course, through the ears and senses and the nervous system, and so we know the mechanism of listening. Apart from that, do you listen? Find out. Now we are sharing this. Do you listen? Or what is being said, you may say, I agree with it, that, and store it with your other things that you have gathered. You follow? That is, we have recorded so many things in life. Our brain is a mechanical process which records. Obviously, like a computer, it records. And you hear another statement as a different statement, and you record it. So this process of recording becomes mechanical. So you hear mechanically. Right? I wonder if you see. Look, sir, I'll make a statement now. I say, with the ending of sorrow, there is compassion. Yes? With the ending of sorrow, there is the beginning of compassion. Now, how do you listen to that statement? Find out. I've made a statement, right? How do you listen to it? Go on, sir. Tell me how you listen to it. Huh?
Like a tape recorder, which...
Be simple, sir. What are you saying?
Like a tape recorder, which records only what is being said, which does not anything from its own.
Sir, I said to you, how do you listen to that statement? How do you receive that statement? You hear the words, right? Right? And you must receive it. How do you, in what manner do you receive it?
It implies humility.
Huh?
It implies humility.
Huh? It implies what?
Humility.
Humility. Why? So you are making a conclusion. It requires humility. That's a conclusion. Therefore, you are not listening. I wonder if you see that. If you say it requires humility, another says it requires great reverence, another says you have already come to a conclusion about that statement, and therefore we have not understood this, gone into this statement. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying. No, sir, just a minute, just a minute. I say to you, I love you. I love you. How do you receive that? Huh?
I receive it with elation or joy.
No. All right. A woman says to you, I love you. What's your response? Probably you have never been loved. I don't think Indians know what love means in this country. Leave that, we'll discuss it another time. I'm asking you, when I say I love you, and I mean it, not just words, actually I feel the depth of this thing, and I say I love you. How do you receive it? How do you say, what do you say? Huh?
No immediate reflection on that word.
Do you say that same thing when a woman says to you, I love you? Huh?
On that case, I am not sure.
Oh, for God's sake. Has no woman said to you, I love you? Have you ever said to another person, I love you? Huh?
So one can have the instant feeling of that.
No, you see. I am not moved away, sorry.
You say something.
Beg pardon?
You say something.
No, please.
You say what you said just now.
What did I say just now? Yes.
Either there is registration and response, or there is a listening at a depth where there is no registration. Just as, now, my query to you on that is the listening to that statement that I love you of a different nature to the listening to the sound of wind.
Yes, Pupulji, may I request you? You're going off my point. I come to you and I say I love you. Not just, I love my books and I love food and I love my garden. Wait, please, just listen, I'm not finished. I come and say to you, Pupul darling, I love you. Listen me, please don't laugh. I love you. What happens to you? What? You're not meeting my point. No, all right, leave the word for the moment last. I say, with the ending of sorrow, there's the beginning of compassion. How do those words enter into you? What is the thing you gather out of it?
As soon as I hear that statement, inquiry starts.
Huh?
As soon as I hear any statement, an inquiry starts.
So, when you're starting an inquiry, you haven't listened. This is very important, sir, to find out how you listen, in what manner you receive a statement of any kind. When somebody comes to me and says, "You're a perfect arse," how do I listen to it? You know what I mean? Perfect arse. You know what that means? Oh Lord, don't you? Now, sir,
I listen with great attention.
do you? When I come and say you are an ass, and is it actual fact what takes place?
So I really study and look at the effect.
Do you? Or is that a theory? Huh? Huh? What, madam?
Reaction. There will be a reaction.
There's reaction. So, your reaction is so quick. Find out what I'm saying. Your reaction is so quick, you haven't even listened to it. The meaning, the depth, the insult, you are already projected yourself, right? And if someone says how marvelous you are, how beautiful you are, your response is totally different, right? So, when there is immediate response, you are not listening. You are listening to your own responses. Right? That's all I'm trying to convey. You're not, look, sir, when somebody says to me a marvelous statement of this kind, that the ending of sorrow is the beginning of wisdom or compassion, I listen. It's such an extraordinary flower. Huh? Oh, you don't know. And I look at it and say, well, what a marvelous thing it is. Because that's the truth. Please go ahead. What?
What is the faculty?
What is the faculty?
Which discriminates between one statement and another when registration is not there.
When?
Registration is not there.
I can't hear you.
When registration is not there, when the mind is empty,
Yes, when there is no resistance.
when there is no resistance, what is the faculty which discriminates?
Would you put your hand down? I can't hear you.
What is the faculty that is God?
That's much better. Come and sit down, for God's sake.
When the mind is not in a state of resistance, what is the faculty which discriminates between one statement and another?
Right. When the mind is not resisting,
Is listening.
hmm?
And I mean listening.
What?
Is listening.
I'm listening to what you are saying now. As long as there is a listening and no resistance, what is the faculty that separates or distinguishes the false and the true? Is that it? When there is no resistance, what is the quality of listening? Right? First I must find that out. Right, sir? Now I'm asking you, what is the quality of a mind that has no resistance? Huh? No, find out, sir, don't guess. I said, if you guess, If you kind of play with it, you become a second-hand human being. Find out, have you any resistances? Of course you have. No? You understand the meaning of that word resistance? Huh? No. First of all, sir, please listen to it. You have never gone into these things. You're always ready to answer. Find out what it means to resist. I say to you, you're not very clever, and you resist, right? And if I say how beautiful you are, you welcome me, right? So, find out why you resist. Then only can you understand the question Mrs. Jayaka put, which is, I listen without resistance. Do you listen without resistance? If I am a Hindu, or a Muslim, or a Christian, or committed to some guru, I won't listen. I'm unconsciously have resistance. Right? Obviously. So if you ask, what is this quality of the mind when there is no resistance at all? When there is no, what is that capacity when there is no resistance to discern, to observe that which is false and that which is true? That was the question she asked, right?
Attentive awareness, sir.
What, sir?
Attentive awareness.
No, I don't know what aware. I just want to be quite clear on this matter. It's a good question. Go into it. How do I discern what is right and what is not right when there is no conditioning at all? You understood? I've changed the word purposely. Instead of saying resistance, conditioning. A form of resistance is conditioning. I'm a Hindu, I dislike all Muslims. Right? I'm a capitalist, I dislike all communists. Right? I think my guru is the best, then your guru. Did you ever see the cartoon in the New Yorker? Two disciples of separate gurus saying, my guru is better than yours, and they're willing to fight for it. No, you don't understand all this. I'm too quick. So, I'm asking you, what is the state of your mind when there is no conditioning? And what is that discerns, perceives or observes that which is false and that which is true? You see, wait, sir. I don't know if Mrs. Jayaka has gone as far as that in herself when she puts that question. Whether she is free from resistance. Or is that question put theoretically? Sorry.
Sir, the mind which is not pursuing security is not resisting.
Are you pursuing security?
Yes, I am
So,
pursuing.
huh?
I do pursue security in my daily life.
So you can't talk about a mind which is not free from security. You're all playing, which is not to be serious. Mrs. Jayaka asked a question. Is she asking that question theoretically or factually? Theoretically implies, when my mind is free from resistance, what is the capacity? that discerns the false and the true. And to find out whether she is serious, I return the question to her and say, have you no resistance whatsoever? If you have, then be concerned with the resistance, resolve those resistance, then ask the question. Don't look at her. You're all involved in this. You see what it... So we never inquire into ourselves. Have I... Look, sir, she made a statement, which is to be without resistance, right? You know what resistance means? I'm hurt from childhood. My parents hurt me psychologically, school hurts. I'm hurt. So I build a wall around myself, not to be hurt further, right? Do you know all this, don't you? Huh? Huh? Good. So, and you don't want to be hurt more, therefore you withdraw, you build a wall, you isolate yourself. That is resistance. As long as you have resistance of that kind, which is your conditioning, can you put seriously the question? Or are you then theoretically indulging in a question? When I have no resistance, then what is the state which discerns the false and the true? I say, I will tell you the state, but it will become a theory. You follow? So find out if you have a resistance, if you have resistances at all. Yes, give me the... Oh.
Whether one had resistances at all, throws you back into time. Let me put it, throws you back into time.
I am not, forgive me, I don't accept that statement. I have not pushed you back in time. I say actually now.
I'm just saying now. The question was not intellectual.
Right. Therefore it's not theoretical. Therefore you have no resistance.
I'm saying this, sir. I was listening to you. I was listening
Yes. In total.
not to you, but I was listening.
In total.
And the question arose. Now, if you ask me, are you free of all resistance?
I'm waiting for you.
Ask me,
Yeah, I'm asking
am
you.
I free of all resistance? Then you throw me back
On your... Yes.
on an investigation into...
Yes.
But at that instant when the question was asked,
There was no
there was
resistance.
not an
Wait, I understand. When the question was asked, she felt there was no resistance at all.
and the question arose.
What?
It did not arise out of a condition.
I'm going to that. The question arose at the moment of hearing, what is the state of mind when there is no resistance? Either, if you will forgive me, either you have investigated before into your resistances and not being able to resolve them, or having resolved them, the statement came out in which time was not involved. So, that is a question of the moment, of the second. And the answer to that question must be also without time. I wonder if you, Peter. No, sir, you don't understand. Don't shake your head. God, we're all seeking our agreement right off before we haven't even understood. You follow what she has asked, sir? You've understood what she asked, sir? You?
I think so.
Now, I want to be clear myself. I want to go into it so that I really understand whether you can ask a question. Please listen. Whether you can ask a question in which time is not involved at all. Find out. I'm not saying that means, just a minute, I'm inquiring. If there is no operation of time, that is, the whole movement of thought, which is time, when there is no movement of thought at all, only a state of complete negation of all thought, and therefore no movement at all. No movement. Movement means time. Movement implies also direction. Right, sir? You following all this? Then would you put a question? No, it may arise, but may arise out of your own unconscious resistance. Wait.
I cannot. See, the only thing I can say that it did not arise out of meditation.
No, the question did not arise out of mentation. Mentation, you know what that word is? Thinking. Mind, the word mens, I won't go to all that, comes from the Latin word thinking, mentation.
It's very difficult to say that a question has not arisen out of thought.
No, but it did not arise out of meditation. No, you still are good. No, it did not arise out of analysis, of distinction, putting statements together and then asking.
That's a form of thinking.
But it did not arise.
Then what does it arise from?
It just arose. It was self.
And probably that isn't good enough. You'll have to investigate why it arose.
It arose.
Yes, why did it arise?
It arose because those two statements are distinct. One was, I just flow through the other was in the ending of sorrow to the beginning of compassion.
Right? Now, wait. How did you listen to that? How did you receive a statement of that kind? Yes, I'm asking you, my lady.
He said that statement totally filled consciousness.
Totally
Filled consciousness.
free.
Filled consciousness. You see, without the word.
No, my lady, don't analyze now. How I'm asking you.
You're asking me, I have to go into very carefully for myself.
I'm asking you, if you'll forgive me, how did you receive that statement? Actually, at the moment, what happened?
The mind was totally still.
Totally still. But out of that stillness, what came out? Huh?
This question emerged out of that.
I question it. I'm maybe wrong.
No, I may be wrong.
Look, no, this is very interesting, sir. Look, Papulji, if I may go into this little bit. Achuji, join me. Krishna Kuti and Narayan and others, please join me in this, sir.
My mind has been habituated to immediately resist and find out the truth of the statement from the records of memory.
Quite right, sir, quite. That's what generally happens. But we are asking something else. Also, I'm asking you, a statement of that kind is made. How do you receive it? You say I receive it in silence. Huh? I'm careful, people, careful. I careful. I just want to, please, you don't, just listen to me first. How did you receive it? You received it out of silence. Which is what? Your mind was silent, and out of that silence you received it. Or the words, ending of sorrow is the beginning of wisdom or compassion. Hearing those words, did it bring silence? So you are already silent. Why?
Because I was gradually speaking all this time.
Huh?
I've been speaking all this time this morning. There's been a state of silence. And there's been a state of listening.
Now, look, Papaji, I'm missing the point. I'm not making myself clear then.
Sir, when you put the question, generally immediately we just give you the answer. We are tempted to...
You've stated that, sir. Forget that statement. Inquire into yourself how you receive it. Of course, sir, you have stated, sir. You are repeating the same thing, but move away from that.
There is small interval in which you are silent.
No, I question. I don't listen when there is a statement of that kind out of silence. I don't. That's it. When I hear that statement, that the ending of sorrow is the beginning of compassion, it has a perfume in it. Perfume. Right? Just listen. I may use the different words, I'll change it. A perfume. A sense of totality. A wholeness. And am I without sorrow? Is there no sorrow in me? If there is sorrow, I can't possibly understand that statement. Therefore, my inquiry is not what the truth of that statement, but my inquiry then is, am I free from sorrow? Then only I understand the beauty of that statement. What? You have to speak louder. I made this statement, and to me it has tremendous quality behind it. Doesn't it? I'm asking you, when a man says, look, my friend, you will not understand compassion or love if you have sorrow in your heart.
Do I search for that sorrow?
Hmm?
Do I search for that sorrow?
What?
At that moment, do I search for that sorrow?
At that moment, what?
Do I search for that sorrow?
No. He makes a statement. Listen, Pupulia. He makes a statement. As long as there is sorrow in your heart, you will never know what love is. What do you do?
I have only one way, I will be wrong. I will let that statement operate on me.
Yes, is it it will. Now, is it operating on you? Go, take it, find out. Pupulia, don't argue with me. Is it operating on you? Is it operating on you? You're full of sorrow. Is it operating on you? Don't you know what sorrow is, gentlemen and ladies? Don't you know?
It doesn't operate, sir.
Huh?
When you say that, it immediately does not operate at all.
What?
I just listen.
So
There is no change in me. Immediately there is no change.
there's no change. So, did you listen to what I said? That is, are you listening to the words and also listening to the meaning of the word sorrow? Because we both know the common meaning. And don't you know what sorrow is? Don't you?
I know what sorrow means.
Do you?
Yes, because I have been through it so many times.
Ah.
I know what sorrow is.
Which means what? Tell me what sorrow means.
It means I am in conflict. There is a anger, there is a...
Sorrow.
So I am in conflict.
No. Sorrow. My son dies, I'm in sorrow. My husband dies, I'm in sorrow. I'm in sorrow because I'm so lonely. I'm in sorrow because I want something and I can never get it. That I see that poor villager and I feel sorrow for him because he can never be clean and ride in good cars and fly and have a good meal. I feel sorrow because there's so much brutality in the world. I feel sad, with pain, from anxiety. Don't you know all this? Huh? Do you?
Yes.
Be careful, sir. Don't play with me.
At that time I feel sorrow.
Not at that time. You know what it means to be sorrowful. That means tearful. Feeling that enormous sense of loneliness. So, how can I, feeling the sorrow, living in it, I may be unconscious or conscious that I'm living in sorrow, how can I understand a statement of that kind which says, with the ending of your sorrow, you'll have compassion? It has no meaning. Then I say, look, my concern is to end my sorrow. I want to find out what compassion is. But if I carry on for the rest of my life grieving because my son is dead, or my brother, husband, wife, child, or I can't, So, Ms. Jayakar asked a question, which is, I hear that statement, I'm actually listening to all the things you have said before, which is serious, the meaning of that word seriousness, and all the things we've said about seriousness, I listened to you very, very carefully. And also I listened when you said the art of listening, right? Which is to put everything in its right place. Am I listening? To a further statement, you follow? Or I stop there to put everything in its right place, and he said, have I in my life put everything where it belongs? Have you? Money in its proper place, right, sir? Sex in its proper place. Water. As you put things away in their proper place when you have some clothes, in the same way, naturally, happily to put everything in its right place, without resistance, then I listen. I'm listening to a statement which says, the ending of sorrow is the beginning of wisdom or compassion. And then in that listening, there is resistance. And as long as there is resistance, I cannot see or have the faculty or the insight into see what is right and what is wrong. Right? Am I making myself clear? Or suddenly this question arises. A question which is born not in time. Right? That's what you said. And I say, is that possible? I don't say it is not or it is that possible? That is, time being movement, which means thought is movement. Therefore, thought is time. And can I put a question when the mind is absolutely without movement? I'm just asking, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. All right, sir. Where are we now? After an hour and 10 minutes, I will stop. Where are we? Have any of us, if I may kindly and most respectfully, not impudently, ask, have you learned the art of listening? To listen to that call of the bird, to listen to your own voice, to listen to the movement of your hands, which means to be aware completely to all that is going on, consciously or unconsciously inside yourself.
This art of listening.
Out of?
To learn this art of listening, has it to be practiced?
Huh?
The art of listening.
The art of listening, can it be practiced?
Oh!
Because when we normally listen.
So just listen what you said. Find out what you said first. The art of listening, can it be practiced? What do you mean by the word practice?
Because when we listen,
Huh?
when we normally listen, many times thoughts are distracting
No,
us.
Sir, what do you mean by the word practice? The word,
Yes.
what does it mean?
Suppose if I am listening to birds,
And practice, the meaning of the word practice,
means to do it again and again.
That's
yes,
all.
Yes.
which means what?
Now suppose, sir, I am listening.
Just listen, please. You said to do it over and over and over again. What happens when you do something over and over and over and over again?
Whether we couldn't listen better.
You haven't answered my question, sir. What happens when you do something over and over and over and over again?
You do it better.
Huh?
You do it better than before.
We become machines.
Don't you become a machine?
Yes, sir. But this is a fact that when I suppose listen to birds, I cannot listen to them that clearly. So I sit again.
Sir, don't you practice meditation in this country? And you're spreading this disease to Europe and America? You practice meditation. That is, repeat, 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 repeat. You're already mechanical anyhow, and you add another mechanical thing to it. Oh, my Lord. So you can't practice listening. You listen to the bird, finished. That's over. Then you listen to your wife, if you listen to at all to her, and that's over. But each time you listen, find out how you listen. You don't have to practice this.
Each time we see how we listen, and then next time again we see how we listen.
Oh, no, no, no. So, look, you tell your child, or your son or your daughter, she must be good, right? And you repeat that to her, day after day, day after day, day after day. What happens?
Is it wrong to know your faults?
Huh?
It says here, listen once. It was not proper. It is wrong to know one's own faults.
Yes. No, don't use the word wrong. Don't use the word wrong. You have already condemned it. Haven't you, when you use wrong? Either you listen properly or you have not listened. That's all. Next time, listen properly. And if you don't, leave it. Begin again. Play with it. Not say, I must practice and listen, listen, listen. Oh, no. See where we are ourselves? We're all very educated people. That's the curse of this. Yes, sir.
My intelligence,
What's up?
my intelligence will be on guard when a statement like this is made.
I haven't understood.
My intelligence will reject this statement. Love should not be expressed. A genuine love is active in everyday life and is not.
No, he may not be active at all. You are laying down already a principle that he must be active. When I say I love, and like a flower that says, a flower on the roadside, it flowers, right? You can smell it. tear it to pieces, shred it down, but it's a flower. It doesn't say, come and smell me, I'm very useful, I'm very beautiful, and all the rest of it. If you have the capacity, if you like the flower, go and look at it. Well, that's your